The experience of loving and being loved is one of joy, peace, happiness, and wholeness. And that is what we want. It's just that we want it to last. We don't want that to come and go, which is the life of samsara. And that is the purpose of this wisdom. We all come to these teachings because we recognize that everything is not entirely okay. It's not that we come to these teachings because we're completely miserable and unhappy and wholly dissatisfied with our lives. But we have matured to the point where we recognize I have some moments of happiness and joy and peace and love in my life. And then it seems to wane or go away entirely, or gets replaced by total suffering and agony. So as we mature in this life or from one life to the next, we start to realize that happiness comes and goes, or even that happiness itself is bound by sorrow. Because as a mature person, you start to realize even in the midst of joy, there's a part of the mind that is ready for the loss, that recognizes that the circumstance that is giving me this joy is imminently fragile because it is made of the manifestation. We don't want to lose that happiness, but we know it will be lost sooner or later. It's fragile. And we all want that experience of wholeness or love to be complete and boundless. What we're doing, though, is we're working hard all the time to maintain the feeling of being happy or to get it back as soon as possible after we lose it. We're working so hard at it because it's imminently fragile and it's exhausting. When you get exhausted enough, you come to these teachings because we want this to be our natural permanent condition, happiness or love or wholeness. And the more sensitive you become, the more you realize that you'll never gain that permanent wholeness or happiness from the world. The world is wonderful, but it can never give you that permanent happiness. Only is that available through the recognition of the self, and the revelation of that wholeness of the self is an experience of love. It is the experience of I am, and I love to be, and I am all, and therefore I love all. And your pursuit of this discovery is itself an act of love. Your pursuit of the discovery of your own self is an act of love. It's not an act of the intellect. It's an act of the heart. And yes, I keep saying the field of this understanding is the mind, but you know what? The word that is used to describe the mind or to name the mind in this text is sometimes hrud. And the word hrud is a word for the heart. So this knowledge is truly revealed in and abides in the heart. And this teaching can be painful because you can start to see through the illusion that's been driving you all along. So as you really take these teachings to heart, the illusion, the trickiness of the world reveals itself to you, and that can be a little bit disheartening or confusing, and that's okay. That's part of the process. It's tricky because when you get something that you want, you do feel happy. You do feel fulfilled by getting something that you want in the world, including certain kinds of relationships or certain kinds of, professional success or financial gains. You think, if I get this thing, I'll feel happy and fulfilled. And you do for a moment. So the universe is so tricky in that way. And these teachings start to destroy our illusion about that. And that can be painful and confusing. But this is the kind of beneficial destruction. It's the destruction of illusion, destruction of conditioning that's necessary for the sake of this whole complete happiness in the midst of your life, in the midst of imperfections, in the midst of the fragility of it all. The objects of the world, the relationships of the world that come and go. But I remain fulfilled, made only of love. And the desire to discover this, the pursuit of this, the shraddha in this is an act of love. Because you want to end your own suffering. What could be a more loving act than that? In the way that you would want to end the suffering of your child, you want your child to be happy at all times, or your beloved to be happy at all times, or your pet, you want your pet to be happy at all times. And you want the same for yourself, because that is love. You want yourself to be happy permanently. This is the goal of these teachings, is to discover your own inner fullness and melt into love.